Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming Language. Now, as we know that all the operations performed by a computer are controlled by computer programs. So computer programs is nothing but a program code which involves the use of the computer programming language to write a series of instructions or algorithms. Now this helps the programmers to code the software. We also know that there are three major categories of languages: machine language, assembly language, and high level language. The first language, that was machine language, which comprised of ones and zero. So every instructions that are given to the computer, the instructions that are given to the computer that are written in binary code using 1 and 0, and only the computer can understand the language directly. So obviously it is difficult to program for the programmers because one misplaced of 1 or 0 that will create a major error and cause the program to fail. Now after it, assembly languages, they came, and in assembly language they are the step towards the easier programming. Now in assembly language we use the symbolic names. The instructions were written in a symbolic names, obviously that called mnemonics, for the machine operations and operand, and it makes programming less tedious than the machine level language. However, the assembly language is needed to be converted into corresponding machine language before processing it. So we need an assembler software to convert the assembly level language to its corresponding machine level language. Now the third one, which we called high level language, it, on the other hand, it offers the English like keywords, constructs for sequence, selection, and use of variables and constants. So in high level language it is very easy to program with it compared to any other languages. And this high level language are programming friendly. The syntaxes are similar to English. Here also we need compiler or interpreter to convert the corresponding high level language to its low level language or machine level code. So the programming languages should serve two related purposes. It should provide a vehicle for the programmer to specify actions to be executed, and it should provide a set of concept for the programmer to use when thinking about that what can be done. The first aspects that ideally requires a language that is closer to the machine, so that all important aspects of a machine are handled and simply and efficiently in a way that is reasonably obvious to the programmer. And the second aspect ideally requires a language that is close to the problem to be solved, so that the concept of a solution can be expressed directly and concisely. The low level languages serves only the first aspect, that is they are close to the machine, and the high level languages serves the second aspects, that is they are closer to the programmer. So all the program that are written using the high level languages. The high level languages, they can be divided into two broad categories: procedural programming language and object oriented programming language. A program in procedural language is a list of instructions where each statement tells the computer to do something. The focus is on processing. The algorithm need to perform the desired computation. So, in procedural programming language, it decides which procedures you want. So, use the best algorithm you can find. Languages that support this paradigm, procedural programming language paradigm, by providing the facilities for passing arguments to the functions and returning the value from the functions. Your functions are some building blocks to perform a specific task. So in procedural languages, they emphasizes on doing things. Now, there is a question that what happens to the data? The data is, after all, the reason for the program's existence. With rapidly changing world and the highly competitive and versatile nature of industry, the operations are becoming more and more complex. In the view of increasing complexity of software system, the software industry and the software engineers continuously look for the new approaches to software design and development. This increased complexity had become the chief problem with the computer programs in traditional languages. However, there is a need for the new methodology grew with the increasing size and complexity of the program. This gave rise to the object oriented programming languages. So, in object oriented programming language, well, that focuses on modeling the data. To understand this most recent concept among the programming paradigm, let us take an example. We have to prepare a lot of dishes that involve baking. For instance, cake, biscuits, pies, pastries, etc. So we have to write programs for it using procedural programming paradigm or any other traditional languages. We'll have to write separate programs for every recipe, and each program will be containing instructions for operating oven. The ovens are used to make a lot of different dishes. We don't want to create a new oven every time we encounter a new recipe. So having solved a problem once, it would be nice to able to reuse the solution in future programs. But in traditional programming paradigm that suffers from this drawback. Though functional software reuse is theoretically possible, but it hasn't worked very well in practice. The large amount of interaction between the conventional functions and its surroundings make reusing them difficult. So, if the same problem is solved using the object oriented approach, it will not only be less complex but also make the software reuse feasible and possible. The object oriented approach views a problem in terms of objects involved rather than procedure for doing it. Now, here the important term is object. So, what is an object? Object is an identifiable entity with some characteristics and behavior. For example, we can say orange is an object. So obviously it has some characteristics and behaviors. So its characteristics are it is a spherical shaped, its color is orange, etc. And the behaviors are it is juicy, citrus, and it tastes sweet, sour. While programming using object-oriented programming approach, the characteristics of an object are represented by its data and its behavior is represented by its functions associated with it. Therefore, in object oriented programming, object represents an entity that can store data and has its interface through functions. So, in an object oriented programming language, the data and the functions are defined that act upon the data. Now, let's talk about some major features of object oriented programming language. The object oriented programming language has been developed with a view to overcome the drawbacks of the conventional programming approaches. So, the OOP approach, that is object oriented programming approach, is based on certain concepts that help it attain its goal of overcoming the drawbacks or shortcomings of conventional programming approaches. These are the general concept of OOP that are listed here: object, class, data abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, and inheritance. Now let's summarize. M- Machine language and assembly language are more close to the machine, as these are machine oriented and require extensive knowledge of computer circuitry. We have learned high level languages that are more close to the programmer, as this offers the English like keywords and programming constructs. Now we have also learned two broad categories of high level language: procedural programming language and object oriented programming language. In case of procedural programming that aims more at procedures, it emphasizes on doing things. In object oriented programming language that works with the data and the functions are defined to act upon the data. Object oriented programming, the object represents an entity and that can store data and has its interface through functions. So object oriented programming is based on the principle of data hiding, abstraction, encapsulation, modularity, inheritance, and polymorphism. It implements programs using the objects, and in an object oriented programming, object represents data and associated functions under a single unit. So thanks for watching the video. If you like the video, hit the like button, and if you're new to this channel, then subscribe the channel and watch the notification. Click on the notification bell icon for regular updates.